Two super teams enter the 2016-2017 NBA season. That will be the Golden State Warriors and, drumroll please, Francis. Absolutely no
My watch fell.
You
My
have
watch fell off.
no rhythm.
No, because I was trying to do it while I was holding on to my watch.
All right, the New York Knicks are the other super team I am referring to, and although Derrick Rose did not fully state that, quote, we are a super team, the video here when he was asked about the Golden State Warriors and being a New York Knick, he goes on to say that, you know, the league is not high on the super teams. He discussed a little bit of Adam Silver and how that the two super teams are the Knicks and the Warriors. Take a look right here.
For real. Another star. I'm grateful to be where I'm at. You know, I could have been anywhere. Not saying all the other teams are bad places, but to be in this market, to be in a city where the the history of basketball, me coming from Chicago and just a rivalry from Chicago and New York type of way of playing basketball, like, man, I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be here. I feel like they're going to appreciate me a little bit more. I'm taking all this in. I feel like something special is going to happen, man. I really don't know what. I just feel like something special. I'm putting in all the work that I did. I think when I look back at it, the most time I had this much time to really focus on basketball was the year before I won MVP. And I got a lot of time to really focus on myself, learn, take care of my body, and just try to better myself to try to become the best athlete I could become. No, I don't think I'm forgotten or anything like that. I really don't know what it is. I know when I step on the court, the players know I'm on the court. Like, it's not sweet like that. To the media, it's something totally different because you could feed the media. The media feed everybody stories, and if you're not a fan of basketball like that, you really wouldn't know. Like last year, I feel like I had a hell of a year coming off 3 injuries, and it's only gonna get better. And but you really wouldn't know that if you really don't watch basketball like that. I think it's enticing, but tell you the truth, I think the position everybody is in right here and what I've been feeling is like whoever's willing to come here and willing to do whatever it takes to win, that's what we're rolling with. The sense is like we don't have any time to waste. It's now, and everybody got to be on.
Francis Maxwell. You know, I never thought in my lifetime that the New York Knickerbockers would be up there with the Warriors going in as favorites to be dominant, win 65 games next year. But, you know, Derrick Rose has a point. He's saying, you know, I got Brandon Jennings coming in. That's a good signing. Courtney Lee is a very good signing. Carmelo Anthony can still score, except not for Team USA. We also have a Joakim Noah who's, look, I'm not here to rip on Derrick Rose. I'm not here to rip on the New York Knicks. He's right in the way that people jokingly say 2011, 2012, this was a super team. And he could be right in the way if the team goes out and wins, 55 games next season. If they play to the level of consistent basketball, Jeff Hornacek's offense is up-tempo, paced to a certain extent, and is efficient on the scoring end. On top of that, if they stay healthy. If they stay healthy, they're going to make the playoffs. And I've said this time and time again since the last time we made the playoffs. The most important thing for New York City basketball is for the Knicks to every single year. Doesn't matter what effing seed they are, just make the 8th seed and make it to the second season of basketball, the most important one, the playoffs.
Yeah, and you're in a very unique situation, New York sports fans. And you have had a certain group of players that have the potential, not even the potential, they just have the God-given talent to make a great run and get into the playoffs. And it's a very unfortunate position to be in because the one thing that kills sports fans in all sports more than anything is hope. When you have hope, it makes it so much harder to watch your team fall by the wayside or not even obtain that level of potential. So this season, in my recent tenure of watching basketball, the New York Knicks have put together, if healthy, and if they're able to combine and work well together, they have the potential to be a good team in the East. But again, for New York, it doesn't surprise me that New York sports fans are a little bit pessimistic because you have had good teams in the past and you haven't been able to surpass expectations. And in this situation, you're hoping that these players can roll back the years. You're hoping that Noah's past couple of seasons where his average has just plummeted, obviously with course injuries as well, and Derrick Rose with the numerous injuries that he's had, is able to just come together and make a run at it. Just give yourself, allow for New York sports fans to believe that you can obtain that potential and that hope isn't just there for no reason, that you actually think you can go forward and compete. And the thing is, you're in the division to do it. Like, teams are getting better on the East. Don't get me wrong. We had this conversation off camera. I think the East is going to surpass the West in terms of how competitive it is in the next 4 years, maybe. Would you see the way the Boston Celtics are recruiting? You see the way that Cleveland continuously getting better each year. The Chicago Bulls looking to rebuild. I think that it's going to be a competitive division. The New York Knicks are doing it differently than I would prefer if I was a New York Knicks fan, because it seems like they're trying to go for short fixes. They're trying to put really flashy, star-spangled, sparkly Band-Aids on a really prominent wound. Whereas if I was a New York sports fan, I'd be like, why can't we just do what the Bulls are doing? Like, you can go in and recruit well, and you can bring in a D. Wade who is still able to perform at that level, or what the Celtics are doing when hopefully they don't splash out and remove some of that rebuilding process to get Russell Westbrook. That would get me more excited about it. But again, I'm not a New York sports fan. I've not been on the brink of greatness and not been able to do it. So I'm just like, fix me now. That's what New York sports fans, I believe, think at certain times.
It's funny because when you look at New York City basketball, Chicago basketball, Los Angeles basketball, people call these places Philly too. When they call them meccas of basketball, it wasn't necessarily because the Knicks were extremely good at the time, or the Bulls, or the Lakers, or the 76ers. Granted, in the 70s, Dr. J's coming up. Yes, it was because of the inner city parks, where like the youth was playing, and the idea that they play for their city. If you go to any, or not any, but specific places, Rucker Park, if you play up in Harlem, some places here in Los Angeles, you can see some extremely high level of basketball. No, not NBA talent, but a bunch of guys who played college ball, D1, D2, D3 guys, and the level of play is high, and they're from that city, Los Angeles, Chicago, Philly, New York, Miami, I guess, in a way, too. That's part of the reason why the Knicks fans get so frustrated, because we have a breeding ground for some of the best basketball you can ever imagine seeing at a young age, and they grow and they grow and they grow, and they go elsewhere.
Yeah.
They leave. They go to different places to play because it's not like it used to be.
Yeah.
So instead, the Knicks want to spend, which is fine. In some cases, it can work, especially in the New York City sports market. It's not a recruiting method, but you do look at a team like the Celtics, who brought in a young creative coach in Brad Stevens, who was there to break the mold, and they trusted him, and it seems like it's working. And then they put in some star pieces around rebuilt pieces, and it's always a combination. Look at any championship team in basketball, even before the Miami Heat, because they came together, right, for that team, and I guess the Celtics too. Kobe was drafted by the Lakers, drafted by the Hornets, then traded to the Lakers, and they built around him with pieces, with Derek Fishers and Robert Ory's, and then the Shaq came along.
Yeah.
The Knicks going into next year, they're not going to win just 25 games. That's a roster in the Eastern Conference that anything short of 45 or a 500 record, which would probably get you into the playoffs, is one of the biggest travesty of a seasons in Knicks history, and that's not being pessimistic. It's just about being realistic. So the frustration always lies in being a Knicks fan is the fact that A, New York is a breeding ground for basketball. B, it is the most famous sports arena in the country.
Yeah.
Some of the greatest moments in sports have happened there. So there's a nostalgia when you walk into a place like Madison Square Garden that you expect to see a show. It also has theater-style lighting. It's why people like MJ love playing there. It's why people like Kobe love playing there. It's why some of the greatest moments in basketball history haven't happened in a Knicks uniform. They've happened when other players come to the Garden to put on a show under the bright lights in New York City and right off Broadway. Jordan dropping 55, the double nickel game. Kobe scoring his first career high at Madison Square Garden. When Melo first came to the Knicks and he started showing off his scoring prowess and eventually went on to get a scoring title, you're like, wow, this place is fun again.
Yeah.
But the most important piece out of everybody on that team is not Derrick Rose, it's not Melo, it's not the coaching, it's not the management. It's the soul development of Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah.
Because the last time we had a unicorn-talented big man was Patrick Ewing, and the last time we had Patrick Ewing, we were back on the brink of winning a title. We made it to the finals, lost to the Spurs in 1999. Shot looked like it was going in, And then we had the Pacers torment us with Reggie Miller. Regardless, it's just a matter of getting there. I can withstand the heartbreak of losing in the playoffs. I can't stand watching a sold-out Madison Square Garden with a bad product of basketball. It's New York City. I don't say that as an elitist type of thing. It's one of the best breeding grounds for basketball in the country.
And it's a staple. There are staple cities in this country that breed and expect in all sports. And it's something that I view as lackluster at times in America, is that sense of loyalty to a city.
Yeah.
Like, because as I always say, your teams can be taken from you. There's many fans out there, the Rams, for instance, taken from an area. Yes, it came back to Los Angeles. The same way I mentioned the Supersonics. The teams can be taken from you, but when I talk to you about it, like the Knicks will never leave New York. The Celtics will never leave Boston.
The Lakers will
the
leave.
Bulls
The
will
Bulls
never
will leave.
leave Chicago, and the Lakers will never
It would be,
now leave
but
Los Angeles.
it's an interesting conversation because maybe it's another clip one day. Like, what would be the response if, for example, like the Lakers left Los Angeles? Like, it would be, I don't know, some tycoon comes in, $50 billion sale. I'm making these numbers up. Elon Musk buys the Lakers and says, I'm bringing them to Seattle. There will not be a Los Angeles Lakers. I think there would be massive uproar from an entire city.
I'm putting a team in North Dakota.
The North Dakota, is that where Mount Rushmore is?
Frozen Lakers.
Is that where Mount Rushmore is?
South Dakota. And then the same point that what I was trying to get to is that when you have these staples, it's hard to try and convince that fan base, which is thirsty for victory, that they need to be patient, right? And that's why when the Lakers, they've been spoiled with Kobe, and that's why when we talked about their draft pick, we were like, maybe they're going to go with the Ben Simmons because he appeals to that fan base. He appeals to those fans that want to come in and see superstar talent. The same way with the Knicks, the Carmelo Anthony's appeal to that sort of fan base because they're like, I want to see a superstar come in, I want to see him put on that jersey, and I want to see him light the place up. Exactly. Whereas a Kristaps Porzingis is more of a slow build. He's more patient.
They all booed him.
They all booed him to start with, and that's the thing. In the same way with the Celtics, that wasn't easy. Like the Boston Celtics have went through a transition period when they see the big three of Kevin Garnett, Rondo, Ray Allen, and also the big four. Then you can include Ray Allen and Paul Pierce. When you see them kind of disintegrate and go away, it could have been very easy for the Celtics to be like, all right, we need to go out and get as many superstar players to come back in because that's what Boston sports fans expect from the Celtics. The same way you can even say it about the Dallas Cowboys in American football is that it's such a rich team that it speaks for more than just the sport, that you want to get the big name players that come in to try and perform in that team, but that isn't always the method. When you think about the Golden State Warriors, right? Golden State, yeah, they're considered part of San Francisco, but again, that's people's thirst to try and attach a big city to a team. They're more closer to Oakland, right? So when you think about it, they're like San Francisco Warriors. But when Steph Curry came out, he wasn't expected to be the superstar player. He had talent. Yes, there's no doubt about that. But when you put those pieces together, it wasn't like because the Golden State didn't appeal to such a big name to come in. They were thinking about building, and they built that team, and now they're able to bring in the Kevin Durant's, and all of a sudden they start to become a staple because you bring in someone who wants to come in and play for the team. And you're absolutely right. There's certain teams in basketball where I can imagine the players are like, I'm here to play for Chicago. You don't hear someone say, no offense to them, but you don't hear someone say, I'm here to play for Minnesota.
Yeah, that's very
like,
true.
I'm here to play for the Timberwolves.
And like the one example of that, not to ramble too much, but the one example of that is like Jamal Crawford, who's someone I have a soft spot for because I absolutely love his game. I loved him when he's on the Knicks. I think he's got some of the nastiest handles I've ever seen in the NBA. He plays for the Los Angeles Clippers right now. I think he just also re-signed with the Clippers, and he's been a journeyman in a way. A mature talent in the NBA. Not going to lead you to a title himself, but is a great scoring option. Sixth man of the year a couple times. He's from Seattle. He spends most of his time, if I'm correct, like during summers and stuff, doing Seattle pro-ams and takes care. He grew up in the Seattle basketball circuit. He's probably the best to come out of Seattle itself. Like, there's, like, J.R. Jackson, someone we've had on multiple times, and he always says, I never understood the aspect of going home. Why go home?
Yeah, when your team might not be there if it's spot on.
But that's true. You might not have a team to go to in the first place. Yeah. But that there's some players who do have that I feel the need to go home type of mentality. Jamal Crawford seems to be one of them. He takes care of his own. He takes care of the players that grow up in Seattle and make it to the league, NBA, because it's something that hits home. The same, I would hope, with New York City basketball is that you bring back those guys, those great talents that grow up there, and you try to bring them back. It just doesn't happen like that anymore. It's a different era in general. So I think that's all we got in the New York Knicks. I can quote Chance the Rapper to at least end it. It's like, I'm in love with my city, bitch. I sleep in my hat. The whole thing. He's from Chicago, but still applies everywhere. Comment below, because the Knicks need to win. I'm not even going to put a number on it. They just need to make the playoffs, make the 8th seed. Let's make it to a 7-game series, and I don't care if we even get swept. Just bring playoff basketball back to 6 blocks off Broadway, Madison Square Garden. At Francis_Maxwell. He's over here. Got it. At Francis Maxwell Host on Instagram. Jason Rubin 91 for both. At TYT Sports on Twitter. We're approaching 4,000 followers, and I think we are approaching like 11,000 likes on Facebook. Let's get us there quicker or sooner than later. Thank you for all of you for subscribing, favorite, all the good stuff. We'll see you next time.